Good morning. Happy Monday. I hope everybody had a great spring break. I hope you had some time to go play in the sun and just relax around the house. I just kind of wanted to come on today and talk a little bit about week 4 of the packet. If you haven't already gotten started on it, it looks a lot like week 3, but I just kind of wanted to touch some of the high spots. First, we have another one of these reading review packets. Just make sure when you do your sentence that you have capital letters, spaces, and periods at the end. On this one, it's a review of all the 3D shapes. You can trace the words, see what they say, and match the 3D shape. If you want to, something you can do as an extra activity is go around your house and see if you can find examples of all of these shapes and sort them. All right, draw and write about your favorite zoo animal. We went to the zoo back in the fall as a kindergarten field trip, so this will be something fun. You can remember that. Just make sure when you're finished that you check to make sure you have capital letters, spaces, end marks, and your very best handwriting. If you remember right before we stopped to go into school, we were talking about maps and compass roses. This is just an extra activity talking about the compass rose, north, south, east, and west. Animal coverings. We know some have feathers, some have fur or hair, and some have scales and skin. Down here are examples of those animals, so you can just cut them and glue them under where they go. Something else you can do is go outside and find different animals. We have so many birds in our backyard right now, and that birds have feathers. We also have squirrels. I have a dog, stuff like that. Hopefully we don't find snakes, but you might find a snake. Okay, another reading review. Here is one of those practice subtraction pages. You can cut out the little dolphins and use those to do your subtraction word problems. Remember, subtract means to take away. So you start with a big number and take the small number away. Wants and needs. Remember, we need things to live. Food, shelter, water, air, and space, and things we want that we don't absolutely have to live. All right, here's our writing. We're going to practice writing our numbers to 20. Remember, when you're writing your numbers, you put a space between the numbers until you get to your teenage friends, 10 to 20. And then you don't put a space between the two numbers. For example, if you were writing the number 14, you'd write a 1 and a 4, and then put your space for the number 15. How animals move. It's another thing about animals. We can talk about how they move. You can, after you do this, you can pretend you're an animal and how they move. You can slither on the ground like a snake or hop like a bunny. All right, so this is, remember I did mine real small. This is a reading response. You can do any book you want, a book that I've read on YouTube or a book that you've read with your family. And it says draw a picture of the setting. Do you remember what the setting is? The setting is where and when it took place. What time of day and where. Inside, outside, at the school, at the park. So you're going to draw a picture and write a sentence about the setting. The setting of the story was. All right, another one of these practice reading pages. This looks a little different. This is working on the word with. So you would write a W, W-I, W-I-T, W-I-T-H. All right, this is your math paper. It's doing base 10 blocks. Remember how we talked about that a couple weeks ago? How you can either, on the tens rod, you can count each individual ones in the tens rod, or you can count it like 10, then go up 1, 11. And for this one, you would go 10, 11, 12, 13. Here's some more wants and needs. This time you're going to come up with your own and do your very best to write them. Just sound the words out. You don't need help with that. Okay, this is talking about animal life cycles. We read some books a couple weeks ago that talk about the life cycle of birds and frogs and butterflies. And that is the 3 animals that are on this worksheet. So you're going to look, this is the butterfly. It starts as an egg, and do you remember what comes out of that egg? A caterpillar. Remember that caterpillar? So you would glue the caterpillar right there, then it went into that chrysalis. Remember that impatient caterpillar? And then what came out of the chrysalis? The butterfly. So you would glue that right there. This next one is a bird, and then the frog. Draw and write about your favorite season. Winter, spring, summer, fall. What is your favorite season? My favorite season is most definitely fall. So I would draw a picture of what I love to do in the fall, which is sit by a fire. And then I would write, I love the fall because the weather is nice and cool, the leaves change colors, and I can sit by a fire with my family. Here is the reading response for day 4. Draw a picture of something that happened in the book. Write a sentence and explain what you drew. All right, there's that one. Okay, on this math paper, we're going to talk about what comes next. So the first one is 14. So when you're counting and you see 14, what comes next? 14, 15. So you would come down here, find the number 15. You can either cut it and glue it, or you can just look at the number 15 and write it, 1, 5. Okay, this says write all 26 letters, capital and lowercase. If you remember way back when we first started videos, I did a video about handwriting and the proper way to write. Please make sure you're doing this in pencil if at all possible, and you put spaces between each letter. Here's some more wants and needs. Name everything you want and then draw some examples of your needs. Here's food. What are some, now, do we need candy? We don't need candy, so it wouldn't go under the food. That would be a want. Clothing, draw some examples of clothing, and shelter, some different kinds of shelters. Some of the shelters that we go to, and maybe even some shelters that you've seen some animals go to. Okay, parts of a flower. It is springtime and flowers are blooming. So you could go outside, find some flowers. Now the roots you can't really see unless you pick it, but I wouldn't suggest doing that unless it's a weed. But then you could find those parts on an actual flower. All right, here is some domino edition. We have talked about a game you can play with dominoes. So you could do this paper. Then when you're done, you could turn it over on the back and play that game. Here are plant parts and plant needs. You would have a grown-up help you read these words, or you could try to sound them out yourself. And you would say, well, this is a plant part, like a seed is a plant part, but sunlight is a plant need. So you would glue that under the plant need. All right, and then there's the last one. If you have any questions, please send a reminder to me or your teacher, and we will do our very best to help you. I hope you have a great week.